So tell me why you say that learning is a lifelong journey.
I don't think an executive can afford to be static in their knowledge base, their exposure base. I'm an avid reader, and almost 95% of what I read are improvement books. I'm not talking so much about self-improvement, but how do you improve your business model? How do you think about the marketplace differently? How do you reposition your product? And I think you always want to expose yourself to fresh new ideas, especially if they make you uncomfortable. At least for me, that's the telltale sign that there's an opportunity for me to step back and have potentially a fresh perspective on something. And so I think it's a lifelong journey, and I think it helps you to keep your ideas fresh. I think it helps you to have a perspective that is a contemporary perspective. And the worst thing a leader can do, in my estimation, is get blindsided from a competitive attack from the bottom. And if you are constantly looking for what's happening in the marketplace and learning is a lifelong journey, you minimize that kind of surprise from the bottom up. And I think you set a great example for folks, right? Because I know I'm doing my job if I make my employees a little uncomfortable, right? Because then some learning is going to take place.
John, what concepts are striking you today in the conversation about learning that are most important to you and your company at Toolwire?
The most important thing to us today is how do you get technology employees, where your people are your product, how do you get them continuously skilled at scale for global companies? And so we did a presentation in combination with Cognizant this morning, where we talked about skilling at scale with hyper engagement. And when you have a 200,000 person company that has operations in over 100 countries around the world, you need to find very creative ways to motivate and incent people to take on this training. So one of the things that Cognizant asked us to do was to put a kind of a Mission Impossible front end to the technical training. So there's just a little bit of edutainment that's involved.
I like that word, edutainment.
That helps to thread the employee through the training and provide them with motivation, right? And we integrated gamification and personalization and integrated it with their career development plans, right? So the employee can see how they're making this training investment, and it's how going to help them grow in their technology career, right? And in technology, especially if you're working for a business process outsourcing company, your skills atrophy at about 6 months. So you need to have a commitment to be a lifelong learner. And the platform that we put in place for Cognizant is called Cobalt. It's a derivation of Toolwire's integrated learning environment, and it allows us to roll out, and Cognizant will roll out 16 different technology training programs around the world, available 7 by 24 by 365. So that hyper engagement piece, I've not done my job unless when you get in the platform you say, God, I want to do that every day. Right? It needs to be part of my work DNA. And we've already got 50,000 people in the platform. Cognizant has a couple 100,000 employees. Our plan is to have over 100,000 of their employees in Cobalt by the time we get to the end of the year. So I think that's pretty compelling.
That is very compelling. And is the platform cross-cultural, or how do you deal with some of the differences?
It is cross-cultural. So we've integrated kind of social media into the platform. So Cognizant, in their forward-thinking mentality, and I'll have to compliment them about this, but they made mentors, other employees available, so that when an employee that's starting their career at Cognizant gets stuck in one of the technology labs, they basically have mentors that have published electronic office hours. So they can reach out to the mentors, right?
Real time.
Real time. And they can rate the mentors. So the mentors have something in it for them to say, God, am I doing a good job on behalf of mentoring this body of employees on this particular subject? Wow. And so we integrated that social element into it.
Yeah.
When we, a lot of learning companies don't think about the marketing aspect. You know, they develop great learning content, but they haven't put themselves into the chair of the learner and say, what's going to motivate me, right? So you get an awareness. You get basically take on the launch of a product is the way you need to think about your learning capabilities. And so we did teasers, like trailers, movie trailers.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
we created
fantastic.
movie trailers for each one of the missions. We created, you know, the equivalent of signage or little billboards into the lunchrooms in the Cognizant facilities. We would have people send out messages, and the platform sends out electronic nudges. So if you haven't been in for a couple of days, hey, we miss you. You know, your peers, they just passed you on the leaderboard. So we take a little bit of a competitive. Yeah. Right.
I love it.
So it's all about, there's nothing that says that learning has to be dull.
Yeah.
Learning should be fun and engaging and immersive, right? And so that hyper engagement is at the center. The learner, along with hyper engagement, is at the center of everything that we do.
So it sounds like it just becomes part of their daily expectations of their job, but also it touches on sort of what we all do in our personal life now, which is to connect and share.
Yes.
And
But when your people are your product, you're fundamentally making an investment. It's a product investment that you're making, right? And since all of the corporations around the world, everybody's going through some form of digital transformation, if Cognizant doesn't make that investment, there's going to be another BPO that makes that investment and takes that particular opportunity to compete off the table. And so I applaud them in being proactive and saying, we're going to skill up our folks. We're going to take great care of them in creating these career development plans. And we've got a nurturing plan to help them upskill on a continuous basis. I think that's a pretty proactive corporate mentality for them to have.
yeah, it's impressive. What do you think has been the biggest challenge in this process?
When you're creating very kind of leading edge, the biggest challenge is to know when you've over-architected, right?
Interesting.
Something's never quite done,
Yeah.
right? And so there's always this magic between what's just good enough and, okay, we've gone over the top. We've over-engineered the solution, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking for the sweet spot where people go, wow, they really put a compelling learning asset in place for me, or wow, I got delivered HBO TV, and this is more entertainment than it's actually training, right? And so you got to find a way to, you're working with the technology people and working with really talented instructional designers and people that understand motivation, getting that collaboration and creating that right mix to where you can kind of stay on budget and stay on time. That's the toughest thing with these kinds of products that we create.
How has ongoing learning and a love of learning impacted you and your career trajectory and where you are now?
You know, the way I was raised was you kind of pay back, you give back for the way that people took care of you. And so this is the fourth company I've been the CEO of, and I still mentor people that worked for me 5-6 companies ago, because that's the way I was taught to kind of give something back. When the market's been really good to you, and in Silicon Valley, in California, we may not have enough of that kind of greater good mentality. And so I try to do my little piece of that in continuing to provide mentorship to people that used to work for me. And some of them have become brilliant CEOs in their own regard. And I now tell them, you don't need me anymore. You're on to your own path. You know, go create your own path. But I try to give something back to what's most important. And truth be told, they may teach me more than I help teach them.
Because about that.
When somebody challenges me with a
Really good question. It forces me to be a little uncomfortable. And when I'm uncomfortable, that's where the growth opportunity really takes place. And the thing I love about early stage companies is the fear of not surviving. And that fear keeps you on the edge of making sure you're waking up every morning and you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing for your employees, you're doing the right thing for your customers, you're doing the right thing for your partners, right? And so I think there's growth that takes place there. You don't become stagnant, because if you become stagnant, the market passes you by, and sustainability has the potential to pass you by.